to bring this to you guys. Let's get it. All right, cool. We are live. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. What's popping? You have such pretty eyes. Oh my God. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot. All right, so let's get into it. I don't want to waste anyone's time here. I'm going to hop right into it today. Cool. All right, there's that. There's that. Cool. Three, two, one. Boom. What is going on, squad? Welcome back to another episode of the Shift Your Mind, Change Your Life podcast. This is your boy, Coach Sal. Let's get it. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the secret to creating sustainable change. Now, I really don't like using the word secret, but it is an attention grabber. So we're going to be talking about some tips here today for you guys to create real results in your life and sustainable change. So I want to ask you guys a question. We're going to start this off by really painting a picture, right? So I think oftentimes I've seen this time and time again as a fitness coach is that a lot of people create unrealistic expectations. And a lot of times I've seen that lead to burnout, bad habits, and resenting this game as a whole. Now, I've been there personally. That's why I started my company, and that's why I believe in what I do. I've been there. So I'm going to be giving you guys 3 tips here today that you can implement into your life in order to see real change and progress long term. So listen up, okay? Number 1, first tip here to seeing results long term is to set attainable goals. So I'm going to say that again, setting attainable goals. Why is that important? Well, I'll tell you why. This game is all momentum. I truly believe that like fitness and everything that we got going on here, whether it be nutrition, working out, whatever it is, it has to be sustainable, right? So how do you make it sustainable? It's momentum, it's choices. You have to start small. In order to make it a lifestyle, you need to start small. You can't really look at everything as a whole and say, well, I want to drop 30 pounds in the next couple months. It doesn't work like that, right? And that may seem obvious, but I've seen that often, like time and time again. And usually that's what ends up happening for people. They do that and then they end up resenting it and then they just quit and go backwards. So it's kind of, I talk a lot about with my clients is stacking the small wins. So what does that mean? It's as simple as, setting a certain time that you're going to get up and make sure that you get up and make your bed and keep those promises that you make to yourself. And really that is the process of setting attainable goals and stacking small wins. Like that should be the focus if you want real results that will last a lifetime. Because there's a ton of fad diets out there like keto and all these other things that will lead to really some serious issues. And yes, it may be something you could do in the short term, but long term it's just not sustainable. So I really believe in setting attainable goals and knocking down barriers week by week. It's really cool to see the small progression over time. That's why it's important to track things like the workouts, weight used, and food. I'm a huge believer in tracking food and workouts and weights and all that things. Like that needs to be the focus. Zoom out for a second and try to break it down a little bit more, right? Like when you come at it from that perspective, right? Like what can I do today that's going to get me closer to your goals? Like I think that mindset will carry you a lot further instead of getting fixated on the scale and thinking, oh, well, I need to lose X amount of pounds. I need to do this by this date. Because then what happens when you get there, right? Like what happens when you actually drop the 20 pounds in the summer? And then you're kind of like, well, I don't really know what to do now. And that's what I've seen time and time again become issues with people, especially myself in the past, right? So that needs to be the focus. And that kind of ties into the next point. Number 2 is being realistic with yourself, right? So let's break this down here for a second. If it took you years to create some poor habits, it's probably going to take some time to break those down and create new ones, right? I'm sure you guys could agree with me. If you guys are watching this and you agree with me on that, drop some freaking emojis in the comments, right? Like that's the thing is that we have all of these poor habits that could lead to a lot of issues, and that takes time to build. So it's also going to take some time to recreate those as well. But I think myself in the past, and I've seen some clients as well, we have huge expectations to what we're trying to accomplish. So I think it's really important to be realistic with yourself because this is a certain way of living. It's a lifestyle. It's why I call myself a lifestyle transformation coach, is because that's what I believe it is. It has to be something that is sustainable. It has to be something that you can actually stick to. So how do you do that, right? You have to understand that there is no end game. There is no end game. Like I cannot stress that enough, that no matter what you do, you're going to have to continue doing that. Now, that may rub you the wrong way a little bit. You may get frustrated hearing that, but that's the reality of the situation. So like actually take a step back for a minute and say, hey, this is how I'm going to choose to live for the rest of my days. Now, that may scare you a little bit, but I'll tell you what, that's what breaking it down, setting attainable goals. This will help over time really cement that belief within yourself, is understanding that perspective. Does that make sense? Drop some comments if you guys are resonating with me here. I want to make sure that you guys are getting a ton of value. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. How are we doing? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let me freaking know in the comments. Okay, so let's keep this rolling here. I don't want to waste anyone's time. So I'm gonna cue that up. Boom. So yeah, that really I think that's the biggest thing is really trying to be realistic with yourself and understand what you're truly capable of, and just having the consistent mindset of saying, hey, what can I do today that's going to get me closer to my goals? I think that's the perspective that you need to have in order to create real change in your life. And last point here, number 3, is staying patient. Now, I know that's something that you don't want to hear, but unfortunately, that's what it is. And I wouldn't be a good coach if I was, preaching any differently, right? So I think it's very easy to get fixated on the scale, and have a certain number in your mind of what you're trying to accomplish. And that's great to have goals, but you can't get fixated. You can't get fixated on it either. Can't speak. Sometimes you just can't speak, and it's okay. Like, you just mess up. We're human beings, right? But I think the point that I'm trying to make is that it's easy to get fixated on the scale and other things like that, and certain clothes and certain vacations to look a certain way. But when you get attached to that, I think that's where things get a little tricky, because, that way it may lead you to becoming frustrated. That may lead you to, really just creating some poor habits. And I think that's what I've seen a lot of times is, the scale and really getting attached to certain outcomes can actually hold you back from accomplishing the goals that you truly desire. Now, I'll also say something on that too, is that I don't believe the scale is the only measuring tool for success, because it's not. Does it play a role? Yes, absolutely. But you should not, this is my personal opinion, take it for what it is, but I don't believe you should be weighing yourself every single day. Why? Because your body weight is going to fluctuate daily based on the amount of food and water that you intake. Even your sleep and your training and the amount of calories that you're burning also plays a role into that as well. So if you're using that as the sole focus, that's going to deter your mindset and really alter the perspective that you have when it comes to fitness, right? So I think the more important questions to be asking here are, hey, how do your clothes fit, right? How do you feel? How is your energy levels? That sort of thing. How's your sleeping patterns? Like, these are areas that you should be focusing on more so, as opposed to just the scale, right? So I think those are some key tips here that you guys could really go and implement today. So just to recap really quick, number 1, for setting attainable goals is one of the key secrets to creating sustainable change in really any area of life. These principles that I'm sharing with you guys don't only correlate with just fitness, it also correlates with life as well, in my opinion. So to recap, number 1, setting attainable goals. This game is really all momentum. So you need to start small, kind of zoom out a little bit. This is a lifestyle. It's a certain way of living. So understand, just continue to ask yourself, what could I do today that's going to get me closer to my goals? And, just taking a step back and saying, does this align with my vision? Does this align with where I'm trying to go? And I think over time that will create a more healthy, sustainable perspective with that, right? Number 2, to recap, being realistic with yourself. Obviously, it takes time to build poor habits, so it's going to take some time to also critique that as well. So I think just really being honest with yourself and understanding, hey, am I giving the best effort here? Usually you could answer that, and usually that's what it is, And then the last point here, number 3, is staying patient. Now, I know that could be frustrating to hear, like, Sal, what do you mean, like, stay patient? Like, that's honestly one of the key components, I think, to seeing true results, is not getting fixated on certain outcomes, trusting the process, and having faith in what you're doing, and understanding that it will work out over time. You just have to believe that it is. And I know that can be difficult, and I've been there too, but just really buying into that and staying patient and really having faith in the process and not getting fixated on certain outcomes. I think that is absolutely freaking huge. So that is it. That is all, guys. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys got some value. If you did, let me know. Shoot me a DM. That's that. Cool. Boom. Podcast is over. What do we got? Instagram, TikTok, what's popping? Thoughts on PFO. I don't know what that means. If you're still here, drop that in the comments and I'll break that down for you. I've just got the TikTok live, which is super cool. 593 likes. There's no way. That's fucking dope. Cool. Okay, so we got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. So I'm wrapping up here. That brings us to the end of today's podcast. So I just like to hang out with you guys. I like to engage with my audience and just give a little value here and there, whether it be like 10, 15 minutes. Just makes me feel good knowing that I'm engaging with you guys. So I do appreciate for those who have shown up and listened to the value. I genuinely appreciate it. And if you need any more information, if you need answers to any questions, feel free. My inbox is always open, no matter what platform you're on, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, whatever it is. If you guys have certain questions regarding fitness, mindset, nutrition, whatever it is, I would be happy to answer that. So feel free to shoot me a message. That is it. That is all. Peace and love. I hope you guys have the best night of your entire lives. It's your boy, Coach Sal. Peace. I'm out.